You replay conversations in your mind long after they're over. You construct the perfect rebuttal, the undeniable proof, that ultimate victorious sentence you wished you had delivered. You think about how you should have won, how you could have shown them. This internal reenactment, this constant quest for intellectual supremacy, gnaws at you, doesn't it? This quiet obsession, this urgent need to always be correct, it can feel like an incredible mental strength, a secret superpower that keeps you sharp. But what if that very power is slowly, silently eroding your inner peace? I want to share the story of a brilliant scholar, a man named Ananda from ancient India, whose greatest gift became the most profound burden he ever carried. His journey, whispered across 2.5 millennia, holds a powerful mirror to our own relentless pursuit of being right and the unexpected cost. Before we step further into Ananda's world, I wonder, have you ever felt this intense pull, this internal battle to prove your point, even when deep down you know it's costing you your calm? Perhaps it's a family discussion, a work email, or even just a thought about an encounter with a stranger. Take a moment to share a situation in the comments below where you recognize the silent price of always needing to be right. Your experience helps illuminate this quiet path for us all. Ananda was known throughout the land for his mind. His words were like perfectly honed arrows, each one tipped with irrefutable logic, always finding its mark. He could dissect any argument, expose any hidden flaw, and then meticulously rebuild it into an unassailable fortress of truth. People journeyed from distant villages and bustling cities not merely to learn from his vast knowledge, but to witness his legendary intellectual duels. He was truly formidable. Imagine him now, perhaps in a sun-drenched courtyard, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and the hushed anticipation of a crowd. He sits, poised, surrounded by eager students and challenging sophists from rival schools. His simple robes belie the storm of intellect within him. He listens, head tilted just so, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips, already in the process of cataloging every potential weakness, every logical fallacy in an opponent's opening statement. He never spoke carelessly. Every phrase was chosen with surgical precision, every fact marshaled, every counter-argument pre-planned. And he always won. Always. No one could stand against the sheer force of his reasoning. The debates often stretched for hours, sometimes even through the night and into the next dawn, but the outcome was always the same. Ananda would emerge not just victorious, but having utterly dismantled his opponent's position, leaving them with nothing but the scattered rubble of their flawed ideas. For many, his name was synonymous with ultimate truth itself. He was celebrated, revered, his name spoken with a mixture of awe and fear. But as his fame grew, as his reputation solidified, something unsettling began to shift within him. The pure joy of intellectual discovery, the simple pleasure of grappling with complex ideas, began to subtly fade. It was gradually replaced by a gnawing anxiety, a persistent tension. The very moment he heard an opinion he deemed incorrect, a physical tightness would seize his chest, his jaw would clench. His mind would instantly race, not with curiosity or understanding, but with an automatic, insistent need to refute, to correct. It became an involuntary reflex, an instinctual lunge for intellectual combat. He found himself correcting everyone, shopkeepers haggling over prices, servants discussing their daily tasks, even children at play. A casual remark about the impending monsoon, a simple observation about a fruit vendor's wares, could instantly trigger his deep-seated need to interject, to provide the correct perspective, the accurate detail, the superior understanding. The entire world, it seemed to him, became a constant, overwhelming stream of errors just waiting for his immediate, precise intervention. Can you truly imagine what it must have been like to live inside Ananda's mind? Every single conversation a potential battleground. Every subtle difference of opinion a personal affront to his meticulously constructed intellect. He simply couldn't relax. He couldn't simply listen with an open, non-judgmental mind. The internal pressure to identify the inaccuracy, to formulate the perfect, unassailable counterargument, was utterly relentless. His mind was a perpetual courtroom, always in session, always deliberating, always delivering a verdict. His students, while they admired his unparalleled brilliance, also maintained a careful, almost respectful distance. Conversations with Ananda rarely felt like true dialogues. They were often more akin to subtle examinations, where one felt constantly tested. His few remaining friends learned to censor themselves, to walk on eggshells, fearing the precise surgical strike of his intellect if they misspoke, if they uttered even a minor inaccuracy. He was right, yes, undeniably, but he was also becoming increasingly isolated, profoundly alone. This was the quiet, insidious price. His superpower, that breathtaking ability to always be right, to always intellectually dominate, was slowly, inexorably turning his vibrant world into a lonely, argumentative, exhausting place. His inner peace, that fundamental sense of calm and well-being, was eroding grain by grain in the endless, relentless grind of mental combat. He slept poorly, his nights often punctuated by vivid, phantom arguments, his mind still running through refining past victories, preparing for countless future ones that might never even materialize. One scorching summer, Ananda decided to travel to a small, remote village nestled deep in the mountains, far from the bustling cities where the echoes of his fame still resonated. He had heard whispers of a quiet renunciant there, a mendicant who spoke very little, but whose mere presence seemed to exude a profound calm, an almost palpable sense of tranquility that settled upon everyone around him. Intrigued, perhaps even a little skeptical, Ananda sought him out, wondering if this might be a new intellectual challenge, a fresh, untamed mind to test his formidable mettle against. He found the renunciant seated peacefully under the vast, ancient branches of a banyan tree, his eyes half closed, his body perfectly still, as if he were part of the earth itself. A small group of people sat quietly around him, not in a formal debate circle, but in what seemed like shared, silent contemplation. Ananda watched, initially dismissive. Where was the intellectual discourse? Where was the stimulating exchange of ideas? This was just stillness, an almost uncomfortable, profound stillness. Ananda, unable to contain his intellectual ferment for long, finally broke the silence. He posed a complex, multi-layered philosophical question to the renunciant, a subtly constructed trap designed to expose any logical weakness, any flaw in understanding. The renunciant slowly opened his eyes, met Ananda's intense gaze with an unsettling, utterly calm expression, and then simply murmured, "Is that so?" He said it not as a question challenging Ananda, not as an interrogation, but as a gentle, almost benevolent acknowledgement of sound, of words passing through the air. Ananda, taken completely aback by this unexpected response, elaborated further. He explained the intricate nuances, the deep historical context, the undeniable logical necessity of his meticulously crafted position. The renunciant listened patiently, his gaze unwavering, his expression unchanged. When Ananda finally paused, having exhausted his initial explanation, the renunciant simply nodded, very slowly, and repeated, "Is that so?" Again with the exact same soft, unperturbed tone. No argument, no counterpoint, just observation, just acceptance. Ananda tried again, feeling a surge of frustration, presenting an even more intricate and challenging proposition, waiting for the inevitable intellectual clash, the verbal parry and thrust he was so accustomed to. He built his case with even more meticulous care, anticipating every conceivable objection, every potential counter-argument. But the renunciant's response remained precisely the same. Is that so? This quiet, unnerving exchange went on for some time. Ananda presented, argued, explained, grew increasingly agitated, and the renunciant merely observed and repeated his simple, profound phrase. Eventually, Ananda ran out of words. The burning fire of his need to prove, to win, to intellectually dominate began to flicker, then gutter. There was no resistance, nothing solid to push against. It was like trying to argue with the gentle passing breeze or to debate the flow of a river. The profound silence that followed was not the quiet of an intellectual victory for Ananda, but something else entirely. It was peace. A strange, utterly unfamiliar, deeply unsettling peace that began to settle over his restless mind. He realized, sitting there under that ancient banyan tree, that the renunciant hadn't agreed with him, nor had he disagreed. He simply hadn't engaged in the endless game. He hadn't bought into the fundamental premise that Ananda's truth needed constant validating, or that his perceived errors needed his immediate surgical correction. And in that quiet, profound non-engagement, in that calm acceptance of what was, Ananda for the first time truly saw the futility, the sheer exhaustion of his own constant internal and external struggle. This is precisely where the wisdom begins to unfurl for you, right now, in your own life. You don't need to travel to ancient India or find a renunciant under a banyan tree to experience this fundamental truth. Think deeply about your own existence. How many times have you won an argument only to feel a hollow victory, a fleeting satisfaction, or perhaps even a lingering resentment from the other person? The other person might have conceded, might have fallen silent, but did their heart truly change? More importantly, did your own heart feel genuinely lighter, genuinely at peace? The constant, unyielding drive to be right, to always have the last word, to always correct perceived inaccuracies, is often not truly about an objective truth at all. It's frequently about something much deeper, something more personal. It's about control. It's about a subtle, sometimes unconscious fear that if your view isn't validated, if your perception isn't unequivocally accepted as correct, then somehow, inexplicably, you are less. You doubt yourself. You begin to believe, perhaps unconsciously, that your inherent worth is inextricably tied to your intellectual infallibility, to your constant need to be the one who is right. But what if your worth, your essential goodness, is absolutely intrinsic, inherent, unshakable? What if your deep inner peace is infinitely more valuable, and any fleeting logical victory, any temporary triumph in an argument? The quiet renunciant wasn't demonstrating intellectual inferiority. He was, in fact, demonstrating a profoundly different, more resilient kind of strength. The quiet strength to simply let things be as they are. The strength to allow others to hold their own views, their own understandings, even if those views seem profoundly mistaken, even utterly absurd to your discerning mind. This approach isn't about abandoning critical thought. It isn't about passively ignoring injustice or becoming a doormat. Absolutely not. It's about recognizing, with clear eyes, the immense internal cost of needing to assert your rightness in every single interaction, in every passing thought, in every minor disagreement. Sometimes the most powerful, most liberating thing you can possibly do is to simply step back, to take a deep, calming breath, and to allow a difference of opinion to simply exist, without feeling the overwhelming urge to immediately dismantle it, to correct it, to conquer it. Consider this powerful image. You have two hands. One hand is tightly clenched, grasping firmly onto your truth, your perfectly constructed argument, your unshakable certainty. The other hand is open, relaxed, ready to receive whatever life offers. As long as the first hand remains tightly clenched, it cannot truly receive anything new, any fresh perspective, any genuine calm. It's too busy holding on, too busy defending, too busy fighting. The very moment you consciously choose to relax your grip, even for a single breath, Even on a small, seemingly insignificant point, something truly profound begins to happen. You create space. You create a quiet, expansive space for genuine understanding. You create space for deeper, more authentic connection with others. Most importantly, you create space for a profound sense of inner peace to finally settle within you. Ananda, the brilliant scholar, learned that the ultimate, most profound truth wasn't something to be endlessly defended with words and logic, but something to be quietly experienced in the stillness of a mind finally at rest. His superpower, that incredible ability to discern and articulate truth with unparalleled precision, ultimately became an unbearable burden because he simply didn't know when or how to put it down. He mistakenly thought his very identity, his sense of self, was inextricably fused with his constant need to be right. You too might carry this very subtle, often unrecognized burden. The pervasive thought that if you don't immediately correct someone, if you don't immediately point out the error, then you are somehow complicit or weak or even implicitly wronged yourself. But that almost always is simply not the case. Most of the time, the world will continue to spin on its axis, the clouds will continue their slow drift across the sky, and the conversation, however heated, will eventually pass, regardless of whether you've successfully proven your point, regardless of whether you've won. The fundamental choice then becomes yours, and yours alone. To endlessly expend your energy correcting the perceived imperfections of the external world, or to consciously cultivate a quiet, unshakable harbor of peace within yourself. It takes a remarkable kind of courage, to genuinely let go of that deep-seated need to always be right. It can feel initially like a profound surrender, like admitting defeat. But often it is precisely the truest, most liberating act of self-preservation you can undertake. It is choosing your own precious calm over the fleeting, often hollow satisfaction of a verbal victory. It is consciously choosing authentic connection and deep understanding over the constant impulse for correction. It is embracing the quiet power of peace. So, take this one simple sentence with you as you move through your day. Let it gently echo in your mind. Your genuine inner peace is always more precious than your unwavering intellectual precision. Now, think about that for a moment. What small truth, what tiny point of contention can you consciously choose to simply let be today, just for a moment, to observe what gentle, expansive space opens up within you as a result?